Agriculture is no different. It takes a village, it takes a community, an ecosystem.
There's a very big conversation that needs to be had.
We need to basically think about what we're using and make sure that we throw away less food. That's the first thing.
Be able to turn a regional crop and a seasonal crop into a worldwide phenomenon.
Hi, I'm Ian Khan, your host, and welcome to this episode of The Futurist. Today I will take you deep into an exciting chapter of the world we live in, food. Today we embark on a journey through the ever-evolving landscape of food production and agriculture. We'll explore how innovative techniques and technologies are transforming the way we grow, harvest, and consume food, ensuring a sustainable future for generations to come. From advancements in precision farming to breakthroughs in food security, this episode will provide a glimpse into the future of food. Join us as we uncover the fascinating changes reshaping our food systems and the innovative minds driving this revolution. Let's dive into the future of food together.
We've got a big challenge at the moment in our lifetimes, which is principally driven by incredible population growth. So I'm not that old, but if you look at the period of my life, the world's population has pretty much doubled. That's a lot of mouths to feed.
We need to find different ways of taking care of our food production and therefore, of course, making sure that people have still a living there. And that's an important one because we've seen it actually over the last couple of years where food inflation went through the roof. There's literally a lot of people that can't even afford food anymore. And that's only a small kind of starter of maybe what's to come.
What we need to do over the next few years is find ways of producing more with less. More because there are more mouths to feed, and with less because we need to find a way of making sure that agriculture has a reduced footprint on our planet. The way that we're producing food is contributing towards many of the great challenges facing our environment, such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and all these kinds of things. So we really are at a crunch point for food production.
We know now that we look at the planet and we see the amount of mammals that are on the planet. We know that 60% of those mammals is agriculture, and we've got 36% humans. So already we're outweighing the amount of food in terms of more agriculture and more space and more land being used versus how many humans there are. And less than 4% of the world now is wildlife, which is actually a pretty sad statistic.
I think the challenge we are trying to tackle here, and I think there's absolutely a need for technologies to do so.
You know, we're constantly exploring ideas of how we can save, be better stewards of the land, be more efficient, be more sustainable, because we realize that that is the key for us in the future.
Let's take a closer look at the heart of our story, the American sweet potato industry here in North Carolina. This industry exemplifies the blend of tradition and innovation in agriculture. Here, the rich history of sweet potato farming meets cutting-edge technology, creating a model for the future of food. As the largest exporter of sweet potatoes in the United States, North Carolina has revolutionized this humble crop, making it a staple in kitchens worldwide. We'll explore the journey, its connection to the future of food, and how it stands as a beacon of agricultural innovation.
Many do not know, but the United States is the largest exporting nation in the globe for sweet potatoes. North Carolina is the largest exporting state of sweet potatoes. North Carolina's sweet potato producers work very closely with the researchers at North Carolina State University. And this research starts at breeding different varieties that are created specifically for our soil and climates, to everything on how to store, how to ship, and even how to produce. So we work with food scientists as well. We also have really innovative growers who are committed to producing the best product.
I'm a sweet potato guy.
I'm a third generation sweet potato farmer.
I am the sweet potato queen.
Hi, I'm a sweet potato guy.
Now let's delve into the sustainable practices of this farm, particularly its innovative storage solutions. Inspired by age-old techniques and enhanced modern technology, the farm has found efficient ways to minimize waste. By curing sweet potatoes to preserve their quality and utilizing advanced storage methods, they ensure that less food is wasted, contributing to a more sustainable food system. This segment highlights the importance of innovation in reducing food waste and maximizing the shelf life of produce, ensuring that every harvest reaches its full potential.
When we first bring the potatoes in from the field, sweet potatoes have very delicate skin and they're easily damaged. That's why we hand harvest most of the potatoes. We can't machine harvest them because machine harvest them tear the skin up, and everywhere you have a place where the potato has been skinned is a potential site for rot. So what we do is we bring them in here, and for the first week, we raise the temperature to about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and we keep the humidity high. That is called curing. Now, curing cures the skin, but it also has some culinary benefits. And one of them is it tends to convert some of the starch that's in the potato to sugar. So if you were to eat a potato that had not been cured versus one that had been cured, you would know the difference. Once we go through that week's curing, then we lower the temperature. We keep the humidity up, but we lower the temperature down to about 58 degrees Fahrenheit, and we can store it. But the issue was that we didn't have a really good way to store them for very long. Back in George Washington's time, it was known that if you had the right storage conditions for sweet potatoes, you could store sweet potatoes nearly a year. And what they did back then was they would put them in a hole in the ground, or they would put them in a box and cover it up with soil. And the conditions down in the ground were around in here in the southeast is about 58 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, and about 85 or 90% humidity, which is perfect for it. And so it got me to thinking that, okay, is there a way in which we can build a storage that can mimic this hole in the ground and give it good conditions? And in a room like this, they could be 2-3 million bushels of sweet potatoes. How do you control the temperature and humidity way down in the middle? And if we could get an air movement through this huge mass of sweet potatoes, we can control the temperature and humidity. I came back with this idea, and eventually this young farmer came to me and he said, I have an old building and I want to put in some storage. I don't know whether it'll work or not. I said, but if you're willing to try it, I'm willing to try it. And it can alert the farmer that there's a problem in room number 26 and you better go check on it.
At this sweet potato farm, technology is at the forefront of agricultural innovation. From AI-powered grading systems to precision farming techniques, the integration of technology is transforming traditional farming. This segment focuses on how technology is revolutionizing agriculture, enhancing productivity, and ensuring high-quality produce. The future of farming is here, and it's driven by data, innovation, and a commitment to sustainability.
We now know all the information that goes into growing these potatoes. We know, for example, the fertilizer and the pesticides and the soil types and the soil moisture. All these things now we keep up with. We have records on.
I grew up on this farm. I've seen it evolve over the years, and we are very proud that we help feed the world. Basically what they do in here every day, they manage from the point of entry to our packing line.
Yeah.
So the potatoes come through the line, they can adjust the sizes based on what the consumer is wanting. They do all of that electronically. Like I said, we put in an AI system a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That's still a trial and error because, you know, it takes all of the implementation of inserting the data in order for it to be able to do a better job.
Yeah.
Than any pot full, when you harvest sweet potatoes, you bring a lot of pot full in the bin into the storage room. So all of the pot full we collect in a holding point, and we sell that to local landscapers to be able to use it. Good fertile pot full, and so there is hardly any waste at all. All generated, the computer tells the cameras what size potato we're going to put in the box. We can constantly adjust what lane it is distributed to. That AI is doing more visual grading.
Very knowledgeable people out there that are farming, and they're not afraid of technology at all, and they will jump on it.
Embracing regenerative agricultural practices and reducing food waste are key steps toward a sustainable future. Farmers will need to adapt, innovate, and collaborate to meet the demands of tomorrow. The journey ahead is challenging, but with determination and ingenuity, we can ensure a thriving, sustainable food system for future generations.
We are very proud when we walk into the supermarket or hear consumers say that they love our Carolina Gold sweet potatoes.
So these potatoes are all being visually inspected. As they come down the line, they're picking out the imperfections, the ones that have blemishes, cuts, the ones that a consumer would not want on their shelf in a retail outlet. And all those potatoes will be processed with French fries or puree or juice. So then basically there's some equipment, but not so much equipment that'll pick these things out like these ladies will. They do a really good job of cleaning all this stuff up. Hi, my name is Thomas Joyner. I'm president of Nash Produce in Nashville, North Carolina.
When we talk about transportation efficiency, saving on fuel, saving on time, energy, effort, packaging, climate change and impact on your carbon footprint of the operation in general. Where's packaging headed? Is this the future of packaging in terms of creating efficiency?
I think the less cardboard here than this, and essentially the same amount of potatoes. So we're allowed to ship it a lot more efficiently with a smaller carbon footprint. You can see these pallets are not going to be exported. They're stacked lower. When we ship them into containers, we want to absolutely utilize every bit of space you can in the container. So we're allowed to fill them from floor to ceiling. So that's why those pallets are stacked so tall, because we can get that much more.
Even the design of the cardboard, the packaging that different companies are now innovating, they're more durable, more robust, cannot be crushed under a single, certain amount of weight. Right. So there's so many opportunities for innovation at every level of food production, right from, planting the seed to shipping it off to overseas markets, that I really feel the future has so much more in store for us.
Well, I agree. We are literally, we're working with a box manufacturer currently that we're going to take the bottom half of this box off so that we will cut the top by 60%. So there'll be 60% less cardboard in the top. We're just going to put Nash Produce across the bottom, have the top with our label on it, and that'll be it. So we're going to cut, it'll cut 25% off of the entire box.
And when you start tracking that throughout the entire life cycle, so when you start tracking that to the carbon footprint of even the cardboard manufacturer, that gives them savings, that it helps them become efficient.
Right.
So the savings are not just economical, but to the entire supply chain that's coming together.
Correct.
Which is mind-boggling.
There's a couple of things really that are worth zeroing in on. One of them is an extremely low-tech solution, which is simply to waste less food. It is remarkable how much food is wasted particularly in Western society, but generally across the world. We don't need Silicon Valley to introduce new technologies to help us with this challenge, although in some cases that can be quite useful. But we need to basically think about what we're using and make sure that we throw away less food. That's the first thing. The second thing then is to switch towards regenerative agricultural practices, which help to increase yield and reduce the environmental impact on the planet.
We are heading into a revolutionary era of food in the sense that technology is incredible. There's something called nutrigenomics, and that means getting the most of understanding what bespoke nutrition we need in food. So people are now potentially in the future, we're not quite there yet, but people are looking into it, looking into tailoring food to meet our specific requirements. So some people might require more protein from an item of food, others might require more B12. And this area could really help the future of the planet. We've had technology interfere before in the sense that people invented things to spray on our crops called pesticides, which obviously have had a negative impact but did help increase our crop yields. Now technology perhaps could go one step further. Maybe we'll learn from our mistakes of the past and actually start to create food that is tailored specifically for our nutrient needs.
1/3 of food is wasted on an average across the world, and that's a terrible thing to happen because it takes so much effort.
We're willing to invest millions of dollars on the idea that we put in this infrastructure and it's going to help us to be able to turn a regional crop and a seasonal crop into a worldwide phenomenon.
When you have inflation and the other economic pressures that we have today, it makes it all the more difficult. So anyone in agriculture are experiencing great challenges. They have tremendous input costs. Again, that doesn't matter what the crop is, but in sweet potatoes particularly, our input costs are quite high. And in order to make a profit, it requires efficiencies. It requires you to look at a holistic picture of what it's going to take for you to create the seed and take it all the way to shipping the product and when you're going to get paid.
It costs money to change the way that you farm, and a lot of the farmers around the world don't have access to finance. So there's a huge role for the financial community in helping farmers to transition towards regenerative agriculture.
Let's dig into the soup. I've learned so much today. There is the processing, the storage, the packaging, the shipping, logistics, and completing the full cycle until the product that you so passionately created and are standing behind is right here. Somebody in the UK is eating the same thing right now, or in Japan.
Each culture has different concepts of how to use a sweet potato. We certainly have our own here in the South that's ingrained.
Our main goal is to teach them how to prepare them and enjoy something that is delicious plus it's healthy. I think that's the number one goal that we have to do is at the supermarket level, at the consumer level, and diversification of products.
And you work with farmers in the packaging side of things, right? What are farmers telling you about what they need or what their needs are that you're hearing from farmers?
I do think that it's very important for us to continue with the innovation and incorporating that, because over time it's going to be necessary, because we see our costs are continuing to rise. And so the better job we can do with our labor cost and innovation and new types of packaging that will be hopefully less expensive for us will help us to be able to be sustainable for the next generation.
I think right now we are pretty much universally doing the best we can, not the best we can with the technology we have, but there's new technology that are coming on all the time. And so I think he'll only get better. I would say that in relationship to the labor, what I see coming down the road over time is that will be more robotics, there'll be more electronics, there'll be more electronic record keeping, and that sort of thing. AI is going to play a big part in this. And we've already getting to see some research that's coming to fruition in this area. And what it'll do, it'll wind up making us much more efficient in the storage and handling and packaging and shipping of sweet potatoes.
Consumers are really focused on what are they eating, what is the impact of what they're eating, and how much does it cost them to eat. And as we are living in a time when costs are through the roof for everyone, regardless of where they're spending their money, they have to spend some amount of their money on food. And so to have a nutritionally dense, versatile product that is affordable is exciting for us because this is a story that we can further capitalize on.
Poor dietary choices can have huge consequences, and that's resulted in the fact that 1 billion people in the world have obesity now, and that is linked, of course, to other conditions like heart disease, comorbidities, things like diabetes. If we want to reduce chronic conditions and increase the health of the population that live on this planet, we need to take diet seriously. Diet is going to impact the future generations massively. Diet has changed so much over the years that if we can get the right components of nutrition, we can reduce the rates of these diseases.
As we wrap up this episode, let's reflect on the crucial role of sustainable agriculture in feeding our growing population. The challenges we face are immense, but with technology, forward thinking, and creative problem solving, we can overcome them.
We all know that our world population is expanding and multiplying at a huge rate. We also know that the cost of that expansion is also incredible, not only from the financial element, but just from the land that is required to produce the food. So farmers in the future, 10, 20, many years beyond that even, are going to need to embrace technology. They're going to need to embrace ingenuity and innovation to ensure that they can produce at a large scale, continue to do so in a sustainable manner. I believe very strongly that in order to have successful innovation, you must have collaboration. And that collaboration comes from different perspectives and viewpoints. Agriculture is no different. It takes a village, it takes a community, an ecosystem of many different people with many different perspectives coming together to try to solve the one problem needed.
I think that companies are increasingly realizing that they cannot solve this problem by working on their own. They can only solve it by coming together with lots of different organizations who play a different role in the jigsaw.
Where we already actually suffer today actually with some of the food challenges, that will only actually become more pronounced, of course, for the future if you don't do something. So just continuing the way we do now and produce food is not going to be sustainable.
So we really have to have a look at the way we're thinking about the problem of the world and the future and what we can do on an individual level to make a difference. Recycle, eat more plants. It's a very simple message.
My advice to a lot of businesses that are involved in this food space is that moving to regenerative farming is likely to be the most economically exciting opportunity of your generation. The other way to look at it is that this is a huge opportunity to make more profit. And I think if we can make farmers more profitable and some of the businesses that are involved in food production more profitable, then they're likely to want to switch to regenerative agriculture techniques. Regenerative agriculture is a way of farmers making more money, not less.